We're going to broadcast this on YouTube for all the people that miss it here and want to watch it later. It will be up on YouTube. And welcome to a very special edition of Conversations with T. Nathan. Know your rights in light of everything that we are witnessing. Listen, as a black man that has run into the law systems many times, I trust me, keeping silent is my thing until I get in court and then act a fool. But another day for another day. So we're going to, my attorney is going to join me in a couple of minutes and a couple of seconds, actually, not minutes. He's going to join me and we're going to have talk about knowing your rights in situations where knowing your rights is important, especially in light of traffic stops where black people and marginalized groups are more than likely to die than white people at those for even when we comply, we die. So I'm right here. I'm right here. Well, put the damn request in. Put the damn request in. I gotta I gotta send you a request. I can't with you. Get the request. You got the request now? Yeah. Yeah, turn that video. Oh, y'all hear? Can y'all hear our Lord?
Yeah, I mean, I can hear you.
You can hear me? Can y'all hear him? Make sure they can hear you. Sound check, sound check, sound check, sound check.
Nobody can hear me. Like, I mean, it seems the little box is popping up as if
Yeah,
everything is good.
yeah, they say they can hear you. They
All
say
right.
they can hear you. Why that camera not on? I told you how this was going. You ain't gonna have me up here. Uh, turn that camera on. I don't care. I don't care. Let me turn the camera on for you. There
Nah,
you go.
it's just a default. I didn't even think about, capping that or messing with that, man. That's just
Yeah,
a
yeah.
default.
You never, you never turn. What happened? You never, you never think about turning your camera on. Welcome, welcome. I'll give you the big screen. I'm the interviewer, so you get the big screen. How are you doing today?
Hey man, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I said, this. I will say this last week was light, a little lighter than usual in court. I didn't have a whole lot going on, but that is uh not. That's an exception to the rule of my job. Like this is one of those weeks where I'm enjoying it because I know it's going to be chaos on Monday. I'm already prepared.
Okay. All right. Looking like Christopher Williams, but that's another story for another day. You know I wasn't gonna let it pass, right?
No, you was.
I wasn't gonna let it pass because there's nothing like colorism when it's all good.
Right.
Looking like you had a high top fade in the '80s.
Oh, nah, man. That's Jerry curl. That's what I was rocking. I had the freshest curl.
Ain't no way kid had to play Jerry Curl.
Nah, I had the curl. I had the
Oh,
Jerry curl.
oh, oh my goodness! I'm trying to see that. Trying to see that. Trying to see that. I can't see it.
I gotta see if I can find some photos. It's been a minute.
Oh, okay. First, introduce yourself and talk about your credentials before we get started. And I have a question lined up for you.
Abs-
So,
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I am an attorney. It is important to understand that I'm not your attorney. Uh, I have been working as a criminal defense attorney for uh, a little bit now, almost actually over a year. Graduated law school. Law school and becoming an attorney is a uh, third career for me. I did a lot of different things in my life before deciding during the COVID pandemic that I don't want to do what I was doing. Like it was boring. I want to help people, and I want people who look like us. Because there's not a whole lot of black public defenders. They're just not.
I
And so I
know.
want, I want people to be able to see people who look like us and can understand what's going on when they walk in, so they don't necessarily feel alone or feel like they don't have anybody really fighting for them. So that's why I decided to do that. It said I went to law school out here in California. I have 5 degrees. undergraduate in journalism and African American studies, master's degree in business administration, master's degree in information systems, and Juris Doctorate. So
Okay.
I read, man, just like you.
Yeah. Yeah. I just went to school. I just went to all the schools. I didn't pay for any of them.
Hey, there you go. That's the way to do
That statute of limitations have run out on all that, so we good. Um, listen, I also I feel like because I know I met you, you were just starting law school. Matter of fact,
Yep.
we first started, you were starting. I was like, yeah, I'm keeping you on speed dial, and I feel like I've invested in your law degree all along the way. 'Cause you've invested in keeping me out of jail this time all along the way.
Hey, I said, man,
Yeah,
I'm here for us.
yeah, and that's why I think so few people that give back. You know,
Right.
and not going to say they're not, but comparatively speaking, there's not. It's not a lot of people that give back to the community and give free legal advice to us. And so that's one of the things I really wanted to expand on when you have time. Just like this, I have people. I want to do one for women, because women in domestic violence situations that need to know their rights. Also, people that are going through divorce have questions about those also. But tonight, we're going to spotlight knowing your rights and interactions with law. So let's start. Let's start with the. I want to start with the three pillars and break them down. Let you explain what they mean in their instance, like the right to remain silent. Let's start. Walk us through any scenario you feel is applicable.
Absolutely. So that is the right to remain silent is your Fifth Amendment right. Okay, you have the right to shut up and not incriminate yourself. That's part of the self-incrimination clause in the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. Um, you should not, under any circumstances, be talking to police. If you have committed a crime and an officer stops you, you don't need to give them any information. If you are innocent and you haven't done anything, then you definitely shouldn't be talking to police. Police are trained. They are from the time they start to probe and to get as much information out of you as possible so that they can arrest you for something when that is the when they are going towards or going forth with an interaction with the general public. And it's sad, but it is true. That is what they're trained to do, is to treat the public like the enemy and to assume the worst and to get these stats, get these arrests. Like, not even really worried about convictions. It's really
Right.
about getting the arrest. Like,
Right.
convictions, whatever. It's really about getting the arrest. And so part of what I see in a lot of cases, whether they did it or they didn't do it, is the amount of information that's volunteered by the client is unreal. There's no reason to talk to police. They cannot coerce you into a conversation. They cannot threaten you with anything to get you to talk, right? They can lie to you. They can say anything that they want. They can trick you and do all those different things in order to get you to say things that may incriminate yourself. It is important to understand that you have that right to sit there and shut up, and that you should not, under any circumstance, say anything. And this isn't a right that you have to invoke, right? Can you invoke it? 100%. You can say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent. I will no longer say anything. Be done with it. But you don't even have to do that. You can just sit there and shut up.
Okay. I'm thinking with that line. Let's say I'll give a scenario, because I noticed that. Um, let's do a traffic stop. I noticed that in traffic stops, police officers, even before they ask you for license, registration, and any of that, they'll ask you either where you're coming from or where you're going. You're under no obligation to answer either of those questions.
Absolutely. You do not have to answer that question at all. They are allowed to ask those questions. Um, when they make a stop, those kinds of questions fall under the general purview of an investigatory stop. When you are stopped by a police officer in your car, you are, for all intents and purposes, detained. You are stopped because they have reasonable suspicion that you have committed a traffic violation. Okay,
Okay.
and so now they are investigating that traffic violation. Um, but you do not have to continue giving them information related to traffic investigation. Laws are going to differ from state to state. For example, in California, um, they have recently, I can't remember if it's this year, if it was this year where it was finally went into place, or if it was last year. But officers are required to tell you the reason for the stop. So they stop you, they come up to the window, they say, hey, my name is Officer and so. The reason that I stopped you is you ran that stop sign.
And I was gonna get to that also. That was actually my next question because in the South, um, police are bad after those questions. They still haven't asked you for license and registration. They'll ask you, "Do you know why I stopped?" And
Right.
I look at people like, I don't know, because you were bored and have anything better to do. Because I figure if I say you stopped me for speeding, that opens the door to say I know I was speeding. So
Mm-hmm.
when they ask those questions,
I
um,
don't know.
yeah, I don't,
I don't
I
know.
don't. Why
Because I
did
have
you
no,
stop me?
right, right. I don't know. I have no idea, officer. And you don't have to be, a dick about it, right? Like I want to be very clear. I want to be very clear. My goal, right? My goal, or the way that I think about interactions when people are going to have interactions with the police,
Mhm.
is to make sure that you make it home.
Right,
I don't want anything to happen to anybody
right.
when they're out there and they're stopped by officers. My goal is to get you home. So if people are coming in here, if your thought process is you're going to hear me say these are the things that you should say to officers, that's not something I'm going to do, because uh, I don't like the idea of these like scripts and things like that, because
Right.
it puts officers back on their heels and it makes them escalate. It makes them more aggressive. Okay.
Okay.
I would rather you very short answers, yes, no, I don't know, especially when they're asking you questions where you could potentially incriminate yourself. The general gist, after they ask you for, the license, registration, and again, in certain states where they don't have to tell you right away the reason for the stop, right? They'll ask you that question. Do you know why I pulled you over? Tell them
No.
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Right?
Are are there any questions you have to answer that you're asked?
No. No. No.
Right.
The only thing you're required to do is turn over your license and registration and proof of insurance and those things. Like,
Mhm.
you are required to do that because that's the requirement to drive a motor vehicle in the United States. So you have and whatever else. I know different states also have different, like, car. Maybe you have to have like inspection stickers or things
Yeah.
like that.
Right.
Like, whatever your state is requiring you to drive a vehicle in their state, you have to present that to an officer if they pull you over. But as far as any other question, you do not have to answer any of those questions. They can ask you whatever. Because the general question is, where are you coming from?
Hmm.
That where are you coming from? Right? Work. Where is work? Work is work.
Hmm.
I don't need to tell you where I work. Because think about it. If the officer asks me where I'm coming from, I say work. Okay, well, where do you work? Oh, I work over at, this place that's over here.
Right.
Uh, that particular area, maybe something happened in that area that you were not aware of. Maybe that area happens to be a high crime area, or it happens to be an area where a lot of pharmaceuticals are dealt, right? And you happen to fit the particular description of a person who deals in pharmaceuticals, i.e., you just have too much melanin, right? Things of that nature. There's no reason for you to give any of that information over to officers, right? You can say, I'm coming from work. They ask you where work is, it's work. I don't need to disclose that. Right. And you can be very chill with that.
Okay.
Where are you going? I'm going home. Where is home? You have my ID.
You know, and that, listen, and I know, trust me. Listen, you all. Let me say this. Let me qualify. Everything he's saying is right. Don't do like I would do in some situations. 'Cause I have my reasons for doing it the way. Everybody, I do agree that the 100% we're on the same page. It's to get home safe.
Yeah.
Just remember that. No matter all jokey jokes aside, even though I don't be joking, it is to get home safe. Because I also want to talk about some things when you find out that no matter what you do, the cop is a dick, and we're going to get to that in a moment because that's been my experience, and I know I probably escalated those situations 9 times out of 10, but that's another conversation. Let's go to all right. You finally got your ID, you transit. Now he says he wants to search your vehicle.
No.
You
What's
what?
it?
How
No.
do you handle that?
Just tell them no.
Okay.
They can ask you for that, and you can just say no. Again, I'm not here to give you additional, reasons for that. Right?
Hmm.
No. They may ask why, because they can ask why. That's fine. They can ask whatever they want. And you can say, "It's my right," and leave it at that. There's nothing else that needs to be stated at that point. Cops cannot. Um, so co- when an officer stops you, right? They have to first of all they have to stop you for a lawful reason. Okay. Now,
Probable cause. Is that
right.
probable cause?
So yes, for probable cause. Yes, they have to stop you for a valid reason. You have for example, they witnessed you, making a left turn on a red light. Okay, or they see that your taillights are out when you go to brake. Right, whatever. They have to stop you for that. When they stop you for that, they are only allowed to, detain you, which again, a stop is you being detained, as long as necessary for you to handle or for them to handle that reason.
Okay.
Right? Unless they, and this is why you shut up, unless they can develop some other
Right.
suspicion that you are either have committed a crime, are in the process of committing one, about to do one, right? Unless they can come up with that, then they cannot continue to ask questions unrelated to the stop. They cannot continue to ask questions. That's why it's important that you limit the information that you're giving out. You're very short with your answers because that just causes the cop to ask more questions.
Let's
It,
go to that
don't want
for a
them to
minute.
ask questions.
Let's go for that for a minute. But just for everybody in the audience, if you have a question, I'm gonna open up for questions later. So hold your questions until then, so we won't interrupt the flow that we have worked out. So I'll get to your questions. We'll open it up, and you can ask your questions then. And my moderators will pin your questions when we get to questions, and we'll deal with those. I want to ask because you know, can they use a traffic stop as a pretext to investigate something else? Like they say
Yes,
they pulled you over for a traffic stop.
yes, they
They
can.
can they lie to you about being pulled over for a traffic stop and while they're trying to get a fix on some other information, like you mentioned earlier, hypothetically speaking, I've known people who have been in areas that they left those areas and the police pulled them over, not because they were in violation of anything, but because they suspected them of transferring narcotics or something. So can they lie to you, say they pulled you over for a traffic stop, and use that as a pretense to question you?
So that's a great question. They can lie to you about anything. Okay. Um, However, they have to have pulled you over for a lawful traffic reason before continuing on. So if they were to pull you over under the pretext that they saw you leave a rundown hotel that they know, a lot of stuff goes on there, right?
Right.
You leave, you obey all traffic laws. Like you don't break any traffic laws whatsoever. And then they pull you over and they claim that a traffic law has been broken, but it has not. Everything else after that is unlawful because they have not lawfully stopped you. Now, what they can do
Hmm.
is they see you coming out of the rundown place that where they know there's known activity that's going on over there.
Hmm.
Right? You leave, they follow you, they see you commit a traffic violation.
Hmm.
Now they have a lawful reason to stop you because you came or you violated a traffic law, and now they can ask you questions about what happened, why you left there. We saw you leaving there. We know that. They can ask you questions about that.
But they can't anything. Would that be if they did the law? Is that fruit of the poisonous tree that them asking you questions on a fake traffic stop? Not let's not get to the part where they pull you over after you do make a traffic stop. What if they pull you over and you have not committed a traffic violation and they ask you questions and say you was stupid and you answered those questions? Would those answers be admissible under a false pretense of pulling you over?
So they would not be admissible, but now we have to, unfortunately, prove
Hmm.
that we did not violate that traffic law. And really, unless you have some sort of video, because this is the way it happens in court all the time, right? Cop gets up there, unless you have defense, and this is my favorite part about being a defense attorney is catching these officers in these lies, especially now that they're using AI to write their police reports. My favorite thing to do is catch them in inconsistencies in lies. Unless we can show that they have propensity for lying and making stuff up, it's going to be really hard to show to a judge when we're trying to suppress this evidence that the traffic stop was unlawful. Now, most I speak for as much as California is statewide, right? Maybe blue, right, in LA and all these places, but a lot of the
Liberalist,
cities and a lot of the counties, right? A lot of the cities and a lot of the counties in California are very much Republican railing, very
right,
very red, right?
right,
Very and especially at the local level where all this stuff is happening. What I will say is that pretty much a requirement that officers wear body cameras, that officers have dash cameras. And so
hmm
we're able to get that footage and see that stuff. And we're able to, determine, okay, there was no traffic violation. Yeah, you couldn't stop it. But in other places, namely the South, where it's not necessarily a requirement, it's a little bit harder to fight against that.
right. Because in larger areas in Chicago, and cities I've been to, it's street cameras.
Yeah.
It's all kinds of cameras.
Hmm.
In the South, they fight against it intentionally because they don't. Going
Right.
back to that effort. So because this is something I've ran into a lot coming up also. Because, there was a time when certain people we would drive all the time without a driver's license, but it was I watched a lot of us get in trouble for not having a driver's. But the initial reason you pulled us over was not because you could X-ray vision and see we didn't have a driver's license. It was some invalid stop in the first place because you wanted something else. So if you pull somebody over for something and you find out they don't have a driver's license, registration, insurance, but your initial stop was not about that in the first place. And even if it's proven wrong, what about what happens to the driving without a license, suspended license, or without valid? Is that
As long as it can be proven, right? Like they have to have a lawful reason to stop you. Like that is the first. They wouldn't have a lawful reason to stop you, being pulled over for not having a driver's license is I don't know how they would be able to do that, right? Like
hmm
unless they got x-ray vision that can see into the vehicle and they're like, I know who that person is. I know that person don't got a driver's license. Like it's really hard to do.
Oh, is
Registration,
that
on the other hand,
is that valid?
go ahead.
Because the jump out boys used to do that all the time. They used to know people or thought they knew. They knew a car or they know a person, and they would jump. That would be the. But is that in and of itself enough of a reason to make a traffic stop because you think the person driving doesn't have a driver's license?
They have personal knowledge. It's a habitual. I think that is the good one. I'd have to do some more like court research on that. But my initial thought in that case, just because it would also lead into, um, and this is something we can talk further on later on, but like the
Mm,
totality of the circumstances when it comes to certain stops and why they're able to do certain things based on the surrounding areas and stuff. My initial thought is yes, absolutely, they would be able to do that, knowing that hey, like I pulled you over, 15 days ago, 30 days ago, whatever. You didn't have a driver's license. I see you out here driving again. I just, like, I
okay.
remember you. That's one thing. Now, 6 months, that's not going to fly.
Oh, it won't. If it's long enough for you to have had a driver's license in that time, it won't.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
I know that's a dicey one for a lot of people are not going to experience that. But I'm also asking questions for people that I know that need to know this information as far as because,
Of course.
like I say, I'm posting it on my YouTube channel. People go back and watch for questions like, of course I have a whole list of.
Yeah.
So we go from the you can refuse. Let's go back to the refusing of the search. You refuse
Mhm.
the search.
Yes.
What happens then if they decide? I'm not saying let's do it two scenarios. Let's do it the scenario they still insisting they want to search. You haven't given them a reason to technically search. There's no smell. I don't want to deal with the hypotheticals yet. We're gonna deal with. There's no smell of marijuana. There's nothing exposed in the car. It's a simple, even if it is a traffic stop, it's a traffic violation. And if
Hmm.
they say they want to search, and now they're asking you to get out the car,
Okay.
what happens?
All right. So I'll start with the getting out of the car piece first. So if you are stopped by for a traffic violation, again, and we're assuming everything is lawful as we're getting there.
Right.
If you were stopped for that, you an officer decides to ask you to step out of the vehicle, you have to do it. You have to do it. That is the Pennsylvania v. Mims case from the late 1900s, as the kids say nowadays. Um, that is a case. They can have you step out. There's another case that I had written down my notes somewhere where passengers as well. If
I
they
was gonna get
stop
there.
you, they're passengers. They're asking folks to step out of the car, they can. The rationale behind it is again that it's a highly dangerous situation for everybody involved, and you need
So,
to the officers need to be able to protect themselves under the guise of officer safety. Now I'm gonna
so
get to the point because I think you're about
okay,
to ask me this
yeah,
question,
yeah.
right? Can they search? Can they search you after they ask you to step out of the car? I'm guessing that's where you were going, but maybe
I'm
I was.
going.
Maybe I'm
Yeah,
wrong.
that was the third question actually. So we'll take
Okay.
that one
All right.
first. Yeah.
Okay.
Can they
All right.
search?
Can they search you when you step out of the car? Uh, it is going to depend. They have to have reasonable suspicion that you are carrying a weapon. It has to be some sort of weapon. It cannot be suspicion of, contraband
Hmm.
or paraphernalia. Like reasonable suspicion for what's known as a Terry pat down.
Right.
When they pull you out of the vehicle, they have to have that reasonable suspicion that you are carrying something that could potentially harm them. And with that, when they do a search, it is not an intrusive search. It is a very surface level. I'm gonna show you my hand. This is how they
Right.
should be patting you down.
Right.
They do not get the ability to squeeze and manipulate and go in your pocket and find all of this stuff. They have to be able to do this and tell from this pat that you have either a weapon on you, or if you do have contraband, you do have other things on you that you're not allowed to have, they have to be able to determine that right away. If they can't, they don't get to go in there and dig for it or continue to manipulate to figure out what it is. That's considered a more intrusive search. And in that case, all that stuff will get thrown out, which is my favorite thing to do. My
Yeah,
favorite thing to get thrown.
and
My favorite thing to get thrown out. When I see body worn and I see them running in pockets, I'm like, oh yeah, oh
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
without
Give
a
me
doubt.
that.
And so, and I want to reiterate this. Like I said, I want to reiterate this point. If you're asked to get out the car, just get out.
Just get out the car. Yeah,
Just get
there's
out the
no.
car.
You don't need to argue that it is they are legally allowed to do that under the guise of officer safety. Just get out the car.
All right. So let's go back to the we were talking about getting out the car. Before we get out the car, there's a traffic stop. This is before I got it. It's a traffic stop,
Hmm.
and they say they come up and say, "Well, you were speeding." Do they have the right to ask the passenger to identify themselves?
That's gonna depend on the state. That is going to depend on the
Okay.
state. I know some states will ask for that. Like I know in California, you are if you're a passenger and they're asking you for ID, they can take that ID from you, or they can get that ID from you. I know certain jurisdictions don't allow that, or it's not something that they are really keen on. But it's going to be really state dependent when it
So
comes to that.
know your state.
Know your
Know your
state.
state. No, and that's
Yep.
nothing I want to. Yeah, a lot of this is general, but there are specific because there are differences I've seen between traffic stops when I'm in Mississippi as opposed to Illinois, for
Right.
and
Right.
in other places. Not that I drive anymore, but I do know the differences in it. But I just wanted to also, like I say, I wanted to reiterate the get home. Get home. If you get home, it's like as much as I am an asshole to police, I always tell anybody else, get home. Get home, and then we can show out, sue, and all that kind of good stuff after you get home. So it means going on the run for 10 years. Get home. That's what we need. So we've got you out the car. So if anytime, even if they're wrong or outside, what is
Hmm.
the recourse before I get to the right to attorney? What is the or do I need to go to rights of attorney then come back to recourse on if they
No, you
violate?
can talk through recourse. That's fine. You can talk through recourse.
Let's go through recourse about any of these things that they do and they are determined to be uh, illegal or not protocol. What is your recourse after? Because there's no recourse doing the fact. We die for recourse doing it. What is your recourse after the fact?
It pains me to say there isn't really a recourse. There aren't really any. Qualified immunity and all that jazz makes it
That's what I want to talk
basically,
about.
yeah, basically cops get to be incompetent, poorly trained, just not intelligent people, and get to violate your rights. And the recourse that you get in a lot of cases, there are going to be certain situations, obviously, that there will be what's known as Section 1983 lawsuits that can be filed. Now, that's
Right.
a violation of your protected rights and by officers. So you're able to do that certainly with some of those. But for small, I will say for things like this, unfortunately, there's not a whole lot that can be done. What I will say though, I know that this is going to be scary for a lot of folk, and especially for like my people, okay, for
Hmm.
our people. I know this is scary. When something like this happens, it is so important for the future people who may interact with these officers that you file a complaint.
That's it. That
It's
was the second one.
so important
Right. I have lost
because
every one of them,
ugh,
but I filed the complaint.
yeah, we need them in the jacket
That's it.
because what happens is in the future I get to, file, what's known as a pitcher's motion in California. I'm not sure if it's the same way in every state, but
Yeah.
that is the process by which I get access to their file,
Right.
to their complaint history, and all of that stuff. And if in a lot of cases, and I just had a case in which this officer I've never seen a police report written like this before. Like, it was so full of fiction and drama and just bashing the person that they had arrested. And I'm like, most police reports for certain traffic offenses, right,
Hmm.
especially the ones where people are partaking in libations and then getting out on the road.
Right.
Most of those, when I read them, are 2 pages. They're very straightforward. I stopped him for doing this. When I walked up, I smelled the libations.
Right.
I saw red eyes, what slurred speech, et cetera, et cetera. 1 or 2 pages. This person, this one that he wrote for, again, this particular offense was 8 pages long of narrative
That's a long
for
interaction.
for a 20-minute interaction.
Yeah. That's
He wrote so much nonsense. So I filed the motion, that pictures motion. I also filed an evidentiary suppression motion. Had them done on the same day. Had the evidentiary one held first because the officer was going to lie. Like I got the body one. Body one didn't match up with anything that he said in the
okay.
police report. I'm
That
golden.
that's why I was like saying that the order of it threw me off because usually it's the
Yeah. So
opposite
this is
way.
why.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I did that. Right. I did it that way. When it wasn't granted, I knew the suppression motion wasn't going to get granted. It
Hmm.
was. I knew that wasn't going to work. But the purpose was because the pitcher's motion was held in front of the judge, was just for the judge to see how much of a liar this guy was.
Right.
I didn't even have to do any arguing for the pitcher's motion. It was just the judge said, "All right, well, here's this motion. Yeah, I don't need to hear anything. That man is a liar. So, people, you can make your argument, but
That's a
I'm
brilliant.
gonna grant it."
Listen, brilliant. that was a brilliant chronological attack on
Yeah,
that because
yeah,
if you would have did it at first the other way, he wouldn't have known all the evidence you got in the back
right,
door, so to speak, by doing
right.
that. Oh man,
Right. The judge may not have been able to hear it, and then it would have been. I would have had to really make the argument, and then part of that argument is going to be heard by the prosecution, who could then already be prepared for what I'm going to try and argue, what I'm
right,
trying to get out in that other
right.
motion. So
That was
that's
good.
why it did it that way. But I got no information because he has no complaints. He has nothing in it because nobody files complaints.
Right, and that's what I see. I, I used to do. Me and Petra, you used to work for the same law firm, so I was on. Anyway, Petra was the paralegal. I was the other legal. So these are the things that these are the things I find interesting because I have never even thought about that chronological attack, and it makes so much sense once you hear that.
Right.
That was brilliant. That was so. Now we got to the fact you have got the information, you get it thrown out, and I want to tell people. I wanted people to understand even when you don't think, even when you know you're not going to get the resolution you're looking for, still make the complaint. I have officers I have made complaints on. It took 5 or 6 years for them to get what they had coming because they had a jacket of treating people. And don't get this wrong. And I'm saying something from the point of view as y'all know my history. It's public record. But I also will say this: there's a difference between the escalation that cops will do commensurate to the crime that was committed. That is also a violation. We have to understand that, um, they don't have summary execution of a party because somebody was found with a vial of crack on them. That's not a recourse of the law. And we need to understand that all I'm asking for is to be held accountable for what you did and not for something else created because they don't like you or your attitude. It's not enough. I know cops in Mississippi don't like my attitude, but that's not a justification for mistreating me under the law. So I wanted to
Exactly.
make sure we get that out. Now, want to go back to okay, so you have gotten searched because I know you've seen videos where cops have planted evidence uh, in the car and their own body camera catch them. Let's talk about the recourse when something happens that you know you didn't do. But going back to what we say about getting home, you know you didn't do what you did, but something is found in your car. How how would you suggest your client handle that situation?
So generally, and a lot of those kinds of possession cases, things are found in the car, things are like that, right? At least, in California, are not immediately arrestable offenses. A lot of time they're just written off as citations. It
Really?
really depends. Yeah, it really depends on the amount. Depends on the amount, depends on the type of substance, all of that, right? But when something like that happens, again, the less you say, that's always going to be my motto when it comes to officers. The less that you say, the better. You do not need to argue your case on the side of the road. You don't need to argue your case in the back of the car with your emotions running high and you're angry and you're pissed off because you're going to say things that are going to mess things up for you. And
That's what
it's
I want.
not right. Yeah, and that's it's not that I'm not just as angry as you are, right? That's my job. Like, let me go into court and be the angry person for you. That's what I'm paid to do, right? Like, that's what I went to school for, and that's what I, buckle down and studied and do all this. Like, that's my
Right.
job. Let me do that, right? And we know, like, these cops, they suck, like, bluntly. Like, it's just what it is. Put it bluntly,
Mhm.
they're going to make mistakes. They're going to do, and sometimes they're going to make, they're not even mistakes. Like, they just are going to do this stuff. They're just going to do it. It is important that you stay in control of your emotions, right? I understand it's going to be scary because you're getting taken down to the station. You're going to be arrested, right? There's going to be bond. You're going to have to, deal with all of that stuff and, getting out, all that jazz. It's important to keep cool and to not, yell and, curse and say all that stuff because, again, while even in an instance where something is planted, right, the majority of the time, like, that whole thing is getting tossed, regardless of what it is that you say, right? It could still make things worse for you in that time frame, in that window where you are fighting through this stuff.
Listen, I've I've seen and reviewed cases where the person was so emotional they'll admit to another crime to try to get off of this crime that and I've always said that's a tactic. It seems like it's a tactic because I couldn't have been doing that because I was doing this and I'm like,
Right? Why will you say no? No, you just say I
right.
didn't do it. Lawyer, I want to talk to my lawyer.
Now let's get to that.
I'm done
That
talking.
let's get to that. At what point should you request a lawyer?
So, uh, when you are initially, basically when you're getting arrested, like, once they have
Once you get
said that they're
arrested,
going to
not
arrest it, yes,
not just the initial action, but
not the initial action.
once
Yeah.
they now, do you have to wait till you're Mirandized to ask for a lawyer, or could you ask for a
No,
lawyer when you
absolutely not. Absolutely not. You can do it beforehand, right? They arrest you, or they start asking you a bunch of questions, and you're just like, whoa, hold on a second. I don't like where any of these questions are going,
Mhm.
right? You can ask for a lawyer right there. You say, you know what? I don't want. I want to talk to my attorney. I want to talk to my lawyer. I want to talk to a lawyer, and that they have to cease communication. They have to cease questioning at that point. They
Okay,
cannot continue to ask you questions.
and let me ask you about if they do continue, even though they're processing and getting, because let's do the law and order sketch, right? You're in the room, you've asked for your lawyer, and they continue to talk. Are they violating any of your rights by continuing to talk to you once you've asked for a lawyer?
If they are talking to you about other things,
Hmm.
that is not a violation.
Okay, so what if
If you are arrested, yeah, go ahead.
they're talking to you about the case or whatever, but they're just not asking you questions about is
That's
that
a violation.
that's a
That's it. Done. They don't need to continue to talk to you. They can't ask questions about this specific case. Now, what I see a lot of times, right, is somebody gets Mirandized, they say, okay, cool, I'm going to remain silent and I'm going to ask for an attorney. They won't talk to you about the case, right? But you may have mentioned something beforehand during your initial stop when things seemed to be buddy buddy,
Right.
right? You may have made a mention, or maybe they noticed something in the back of your car, right? Like a basketball or, a jersey or something.
Right.
They
Okay.
may start talking about just side stuff.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, saw the Laker game. I saw the Kings and the Celtics playing. Whoopty whoop whoop. Blah blah blah. And then they may ask you questions about that. That's not going to be a violation, but it's still a way that they can glean information from you. There's no reason for you, again, to talk to them. And then once you start talking again, right, you kind of give up that right to remain silent, and you almost give up that right to an attorney if you start talking about the case
So what if you start talking about it on your own,
on your own.
even though that's a tactic, we know that's a tactic.
100% it's a
Even
tactic.
if you, but
100%.
if you give into the tactic, it's on you.
It is on you. Yes.
I really want to get people to understand that, right? Once you invoke your right, no matter hell or high water, as my grandmother used to say, stick to it. Because there's
Yes.
nothing good that can come out of you thinking you can. And this is the thing. And we think back to the Central Park Five, and we think about other arrests we've seen where they have been long interrogations. And even in people think it's children's fault. I've seen grown ass men break down under interrogation tactics, and I'd just be like, "Can I get a piece of gum?" And it does have a lot to do with who you are, where you were raised, and how you interact. And I'm not trying to
And the experience.
right. Some of us have more than others, and I'm not
Yes.
trying to put that as a justification, but you just have to think about it. Even if you're innocent, I want people to understand those boys were innocent. But they didn't know any better because they kept coming back. I think someone mentioned intimidation. And I don't want to talk about the intimidation because most of the think about physical intimidation. I want to talk about the intimidation because this is what officers have always done. Well, you can make it light on yourself and talk to us now.
So I will say when it comes to that, especially if you've invoked the right to an attorney,
Hmm.
if they start doing that all and you start to talk, they have violated that. That is coercion. They will
But but
absolutely
but it
consider
never.
that coercion.
But if you start to talk, it's like, and I'm saying, like I say, these are personal experiences I'm sharing with you from other people I've
Of
known.
course.
Because they will say that, and oh, I want to go home. You can go home today. That's never the truth. You can go home
All right.
today. Just tell us what happened. Is that tactic legal?
Yeah, they can lie to you all day long.
That's what
They
I
can
wanted to
say
get
that
across.
stuff all day long. Yeah, there's nothing against it. And I wanted to backtrack a little bit on the Miranda stuff. Right? I wanted to
Okay.
go back to that for a second. The reason I wanted to go back to it because a lot of people here, they didn't read me my Miranda rights. That means the case gets dismissed.
L-
That's not how that works.
We're seeing that happen right now with Luigi Magnoni. They're arguing
Hmm.
that he wasn't Mirandized. So yeah,
Right.
go ahead. Because then we're going
So
to talk
it
about
does. Yeah.
qualified.
Yeah, absolutely. It does not mean that the case gets dismissed. What it means is that the statements that you made while you were not Mirandized or were, Mirandized improperly, whatever it is, right?
Right.
They violated Miranda. Those statements that you made cannot be used against you. In a court proceeding. They can't then turn around and say, well, yeah, this is what he said to me. They, but sadly, and this still blows my mind. This is a court decision that I think came within the last 10 years. You can, or the prosecution can use those statements as impeachment evidence if you
And
make
that doesn't
contradictory statements on the stand.
And that's something I also get because when I look at Arizona versus Miranda, that shouldn't be possible. But I understand
Right.
that since then, it also has been reviewed um, hundreds of times, right, in jurisdictions. But let me get to that also because I've also seen the point where, like, say, you wasn't Mirandized or you were improperly Mirandized. You made a statement. While that statement can't be used against you in a court of law, it can be used to open up other avenues of investigation, right?
That is true. The physical evidence that they are able to gather from those statements, if they can potentially find another way to get to that.
Hmm.
I think right now I don't think there's a case that's actively at the Supreme Court, but I think right now when it comes to Miranda, uh, the courts are kind of split at the appellate level. I don't think there's one that's gotten up there um, that specifically said one way or the other that they can use. I think some jurisdictions have said that. No, nope. I'm sorry. Let me take that back. I knew I wrote it down somewhere. I took notes. United States versus the case is Patain from 2004. There wasn't a full. They didn't have enough justices to um, get a, they didn't have five justices to agree on one thing. The plurality in this case was um, the Rocket Raccoon, Justice Thomas.
Justice Thomas.
Um, of course, it was Thomas
Yeah,
with Scalia, who basically said that failing to give a Miranda warning does not require that any evidence that was given or that was obtained by the statements
I know the
to
case.
be given away.
I
Yeah,
didn't realize he was 21 years old.
it's 21 years, man.
Damn, when you start talking about it, I remembered the case as far I didn't remember the name, but I remember the when you mentioned the Rocky Raccoon. And so that so that is the standard now federally. But
Yeah,
what about like and I go back to I'm gonna use Alabama, it's the Alabama case that talked about Miranda. Because in the South, let me tell you, you could just you can go in the law library and throw a rock, you're gonna find a case on Miranda in the South, right? Where they have violated it, but it's been upheld. Like that's what we got the part where we said, where I was talking about they could take a statement and they couldn't use it to prosecute. Prosecutors can't, but
hmm
the police used it to open up another avenue that they wouldn't have had. And that goes back
yes.
to shutting up. Never talk about anything. Shut up. Just shut
Just,
up.
just, it's just. There's no reason to talk ever. Legitimately,
Right.
they're just nothing good comes out of it, right?
Right.
And some people go, well, who do I call? I know I will just get on my soapbox for a small minute here. I know people because people love to say this to me. Well, who do I call when something happens? Call literally anybody else. Like, who do I call? Well, I'm like, because please tell me when police officers are preventing crime. Please tell me when
Right.
officers are solving crime.
That's
Like,
what
it's
I
not
can't get
happening.
people. I, I I can't get people to understand that police either respond after a crime has been committed, but they are not because people think, well, so and so was about to break in my house, the police showed up. So and so was long gone before the police showed up. Trust me, they didn't stop them from breaking into your house. They just didn't want to
No.
be there with them. And I can't get people to realize that they don't even when they pull you over at a traffic stop, they have not stopped the traffic stop from happening. They have arrived to pull you over after the traffic stop occurred. And that's one thing I want people
Right.
to understand about police. And even as black and brown people, I want you to understand that the pretext is a crime has been committed. Remember that.
hmm
The pretext is a crime has been committed. So
Yes.
don't admit to a crime that they didn't know about in the process of thinking. And I want to talk about that. And this is my soapbox for just a moment because I meet so many people that go through the system and they have a public defender and they make the job hard for the public defender because they think they can get out of jail earlier by talking. And that's that it's like, oh, I don't want to. I don't want to go to jail. Listen, jail is different than prison for one, and sometimes it's easier, it's better to sit there than to buy into the lie that we'll have you home for lunch. 'Cause it's if they tell you that, that's a lie off the top. That's a lie off the top. It's like, and I wish people would stop falling for it. You know how many brothers I've seen in prison that something simple became something worse because,
Yep.
like you talk about, you're trying to defend yourself against the. And I go back to the traffic stop because as a prime example, we were working on a case when I worked for Ellis Law Firm, and the police had started talking about sport. It was, in the South, high school football is king. So he started talking about sports. Now he had got off the subject of why he was originally arrested. So I guess the guy thought it was safe. But in the process, the guy admitted that he wasn't at the game on a night in question. And therefore they used that to say that if you can use it as an alibi that you had used it as in a previous arrest, now you are saying you're not at the game. And I just wanted people to understand that no matter what you think, the police are thinking on a whole nother level all the time. You got to treat every interaction with the police as an interaction with the enemy. No matter what the interaction is, you have to be cognizant of the fact you're interacting with the enemy. And like you said, they can lie to you, but they treat everything like you say when it can be used against you as the truth. I want to get back to immunity, police immunity. I want you to explain what it is and what it isn't, and how it works in these situations when we talk about recourse.
So basically, okay, the the Constitution, and I'm going to talk about it from the perspective from the perspective of excessive force. That's generally like how I think about qualified immunity. There isn't any prohibition of excessive force in the Constitution,
Right.
right? So,
Good point.
you
Good
know,
point.
there obviously, there are prohibitions against unreasonable searches and seizures, and so they've kind of crafted, an
Yeah,
excessive
I
force
like the way
out
you
of
said
there.
that. Crafted,
Right?
because
Yeah,
it
yeah.
is a craft.
That's really
It's
what
like
it is.
it's like witchcraft. They made it up, basically.
Look, man, all this. Look, if anybody in here you follow constitutional law, man, all this shit is made up. Like,
Right.
like all this shit is made up.
And, and
It
and
should be real.
side note on that for a moment. This administration is showing you how made up it is.
Right, right,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But like I think it's the way I think about uh qualified immunity is that it's kind of a uh amalgamation between a bunch of different constitutional amendments, which is how they kind of came up with this idea, right?
Uh,
But they basically don't ban or prevent officers. They're loath, the government and courts are loath to put restrictions on what officers can and cannot do when it comes to performing their jobs. And if I mean there's a whole history, obviously, of where police officers actually came from, all that stuff,
right.
and that's a completely different live that we do on that one.
Right. Slave catcher
So
patrols. Right.
right, right.
Right.
So basically, the Supreme Court has, said that uh, officers just have leeway when it comes to interactions. And there have been a lot of cases that kind of shape this idea of qualified immunity, right? If they talk about the reasonableness of a police officer, and it's a different standard versus the reasonableness of a regular lay person, right? Based on their training, based on the things that they deal with, right? I mean, you see it's so ingrained in our system that you even see it in cases that don't necessarily have anything to do with immunity for officers, where the court will talk about just how dangerous the job is, and they're
Right,
risking their lives when they, go walk out into the street. Meanwhile, it's more dangerous to be a pizza delivery driver than it is to be a police officer.
right,
They talk about that all the time.
right, right,
And so there are a lot of things. Basically, that immunity is the actions that they take, the excessive force complaint, being able beating people, doing whatever is necessary to effectuate an arrest. Um, they are immune from what's known as the Section 1983 uh, claims. And Section
yeah,
1983 is that area of the federal code that allows recourse
right,
for for issues when we
right,
are, beat up or we're caused harm by police officers.
right.
So
Violation.
that's really where that comes from for the most part.
So, and when you don't get rid of it, when you have it, it's able to be used in a wide range of incidents that
Yes,
involve. It's like
yes,
from the traffic stops where we die, and the justification for why, because they always go, I feared for my life. I tell people, when you hear police officers say that, that's part of the script for qualified
it
immunity.
is. It is.
It's
Oh,
it's
absolutely, it is.
it's like the get out of jail free card. If you say I feared for my life, you can get away with didn't doing 2 years like Kim Porter, when somebody was fleeing from her actually, and that is the case. Only reason that Bottom John couldn't try it because you were supposed to be off duty. So why are you fearing for your life by walking into somebody else's apartment? But it takes
Right.
that level. I don't think people understand. It takes that level of horror even get to the fact where a qualified community is, and they know this. That's another thing. Like when you go back to it, they know they're right. You understand? And that's what I be telling you. Let's deal with let's we got to like I wanted to get a little into ICE territory. I want to get
Okay.
into how we're watching people being pulled from their car. Or, you had a nurse just recently was pulled from her car and she's an American citizen. Let's go to the fact that, and you know how some people were like, well, they asked you a question, you are required to answer the question. No, you're not required to answer the question. But
Nope.
going back to getting home safely, and I listen, people do as I say, don't don't do as I do in situations sometimes, right? You just don't do that. Just I am not advocating for people to do how I would handle things in situations because I am used to handling things differently in situations. And there's a reason. This is Mississippi. Sometimes you have to beat a cop up, get the other one. So you get to that point. Hypothetically, the statute of limitations has run out. Stop making that face. I've either served the time or the statute of limitations has run out. Okay. So you get to this point, right, where what are the rights and requirements for something like ICE asking you questions to produce ID when they're not even in a commission of a crime. And how does the charter extend to that? How would you speak on it? I know you're not an immigration lawyer, but
No, no,
just
no, no, no. No, you're
just
right. I deal with a lot of, folks like, I'm in Southern California. I
mhm.
deal with a lot of people who cross the border, who, try to. Another thing that's really terrible about, this immigration stuff is that it prevents actual victims from actually getting any type of recourse or restitution from, people who have committed crimes because they can't get the people into court because they're afraid to go to court for being deported. Or when they show up for court, they are getting deported. Like they are being detained the moment they step foot in
Right,
court. So much so that I have clients when we get to court, when I'm handling arraignments for that day, and you can always tell. Like this, the thing that bugs me so much about these officers is just like I don't understand why they're so bad at this.
hold on for just a minute.
Yeah.
Sandra, the Supreme Court voted on what? Not on what? Is this a new ruling? Because I know they're going to take up the case against being born in the United States. Is that something new, or is this something in accordance to what we're talking about? Yeah, certain phrases get my attention. So you said
Oh yeah, no, I saw
the
that and I
Supreme.
was like, on what?
Oh, okay, all right, go ahead. Yeah, okay, that's good. Ooh, okay, I thought they had made a decision that I had missed somewhere today, but yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
There you get. They're just so bad. I was saying they're just so bad about like disguising themselves. Like they just kind of show up and you're like, yeah, you're federal agent. Like so, we'll go out and we will just talk to everybody and we'll be like, hey, are you here for when we see the ones that are we are pretty certain that they're federal agents or ICE agents, we will just walk right up to them. We have the calendar sheet. We'll just walk up. Hey, so you're here for court. What's your name? And then, they go, oh, I'm just watching. Oh, okay, well, you know, this isn't, if you want to, you can come into the courtroom
Right,
and watch. There's no reason for you to be sitting out here and watching. What are you watching
you're
for?
right. You're not watching for
Right. You're just sitting out here watching regular people
right.
just wander, but you're not in court watching
N-
the actual proceedings. Like, what are
Nothing,
you doing?
nothing creepy about that at all.
Right, at all, right?
Right,
So we talk. So we have ways of doing of protecting these people because again, it's mainly the way I think about it, it's about protecting them and their rights being here in this country, but also this does go towards people who are victims of crime because
right,
again, if they aren't prosecuted and they don't get hit for whatever restitution or fines, then they don't get made whole. The victims don't. So, it's lose lose for everybody with these folks around here. My thing so what I will say though, is that there are certain things, which is why it's so important that there are states who refuse to, comply or help out ICE in these ways. So like, at least in California, they are the police are not allowed to um, the police are not allowed to divulge information on the status of a person who is in custody. So if a person has been arrested, he's in there. They're not allowed to divulge their immigration status. The way that this is federally, if you are someone who has or is not a citizen, or naturalized, or you were born here,
mhm,
um, what a lot of these officers will go and knock on the door. I will say this all the time: you don't need to answer the door. You don't need to say nothing. It's the same thing. It's going to be repeated over and over again. You don't need to say a damn thing to a cop. You don't have to talk to them, right? They let them figure this out on their own. They don't need anybody giving them information. They come up to your door. You don't open the door, especially if you were somebody who's an
right,
LPR with a legal permanent resident, or if you're undocumented, right? There's no reason for you to answer the door. Um, they what's kind of slimy, right, is that they have their own warrants. They aren't warrants. Okay, they'll say it's a warrant.
but
Like
it's
they
not
call it a
signed.
warrant.
But it's
Right.
not signed by a
It's
judge.
not. It's not signed by a judge. It'll be signed. It's just gonna be signed by
By a judge.
some dude. Like I don't care who that is. It's not signed by a judge. I know.
Let me stop you there before we get too far from what my other question was. Um, if you're not identifying yourself as a federal agent and you are attacking somebody, what's the recourse? Do you treat like you watch somebody has a mask on and no visible badge showing, or even if it's a badge, you don't know if it's one you just bought down at the surplus store. Why not TNathan answer, but what is your recourse to help somebody?
See, I would love to say that this is very clearly civil rights violation. Very clearly, 1983 case that can be taken and you should be able to sue on this.
Mhm.
But that requires, as we've said before, right? It requires those guidelines and those rules to be in place and to actually be enforced and put forward.
Right.
And the way that the administration is kind of acting, it's there isn't really a recourse at this moment in time because what you would have to do. when you're dealing with the federal issues is that you're more likely than not you're filing these in federal court. Like these aren't things that you're taking to a state court. These types of issues because you're being your right to being violated by a federal agency here.
Mhm.
And the unfortunate reality for what we're dealing with now is
You didn't get my message.
you're asking this government for recourse for shit that they're doing
Hmm.
right now. These are those things that you said, like, this is how flimsy everything is kind of held together, right?
Okay.
The things aren't really locked in to for there to be a recourse. We can file and we can do all these things in the court,
Stop
but
deflecting.
at the end of the day, we get to the federal court and they go, I mean, I'm rolling with the orange dude over here, so this case is gone. And that's why. So I uh, have said, at least at this point, and um, for legal purposes, these are jokes. Um, but I say you just punch him in the mouth, like
Hypothetically, listen,
hypothetically
I
speaking.
gotta be the one to say hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetically, I said,
We
hey, for
are
legal
in,
purposes, these are jokes. I
we are
said these are
in.
jokes.
I get
For
I do.
legal reasons,
I'm
these
just
are
saying,
jokes.
you know we bad off when TNathan is the one that has to say hypothetically. We
I just said, man, I think because especially a lot of these ICE agents, they not in shape. They don't have the ability to really do anything.
right.
I've seen plenty of videos of folks running from them and running into their house. You get into the house, you're safe. You
Listen,
get into somebody's house, you're safe because they can't
listen.
run in there.
Right. We've been running. I've been running. Hypothetically speaking, we've been. Listen, I I stay in shape just because I never know when a good run might break out.
Man.
Eh,
Oh yeah, it's sad. Like the immigration stuff is really sad. I'll say, I saw somebody saying that immigration is different from criminal. There's a whole section of law called crimmigration, where the criminal
right.
and immigration they put
The
together.
intersection
Like
of
that
right.
is a very niche specialty
But
of law.
until recently, even coming into the country across the border was a civil a matter. It wasn't criminalized like it is today. It's like people are
Right.
arguing, and I tell people, I mean, I've worked with Mira and many of immigration rights organizations around the country. Um, just gonna leave it at that. But a lot of these things that we're calling criminal today are not criminal, even in speaking of it. It's a civil offense to cross the border undocumented. That is a
Right.
civil. And
Absolutely.
that's when people say, "Well, we're deporting criminals and they cross the border." That's a civil offense. That's is a citation for a traffic violation is
Exactly.
uh,
No, you're absolutely right.
yeah. Whereas
Absolutely right.
white
100%.
uh, yeah,
I
siren
said
is
this is for jokes.
yeah. This is jokes. This is joke. We're in the jokey joke period. But
We
now,
cracking jokes.
yeah. All right. So,
Punch an ICE agent in the face.
and we mean like Elsa ice agents from from Frozen.
From Frozen.
Frozen, yeah, because we talking about what's his name, the little snowman. Punch him in the face, he can take it. So
Yeah.
your sum up something before we go to open up the question. So stay calm if you're ever
Yes.
stay calm in interaction. Um,
Hmm.
follow the instructions. And listen, I hate to say this. I hate to say this because this is
Hmm.
T Nathan saying. Um, get home. Get home.
The most important thing. It really. It no joke. It's the most important thing. The like the cops are in the position of power when they stop you on the side. When you're
Right.
driving and they stop you,
Hold on.
they are the ones that are in positions of power. They are the ones with the weapon. They are the ones that have the ability to make sure that you don't go home.
Right.
And all and my thing is as a defense attorney is that yes, there will be, and I'm sure there are going to be a bunch of people that can point to me to different things where somebody was successful and they talked this and they
Right.
talked through that, and all that. Sure, that's the exception to the rule. All right. For every one of those, there's 100 where it went sideways and somebody was in jail with a broken nose or a black eye or, whatever.
Right.
Like there's just so many of those. And so it is so important that, I will say, I know you were getting to this conclusion before you open up the question. I put stuff together. Assert your rights. Okay.
Right.
That means, you don't have to say, I'm choosing to remain silent. You can be silent. But so that there is no ambiguity, I'm asserting my right to remain silent. I'm not going to talk about anything else. Assert your right to an attorney. And then you shut up.
Right.
Do not consent to searches. There's no reason to consent to a search because guess what? If they want to search it and they have and they can legally do it, they're going to do it. And if they want to illegally do it, they're going
They
to
can
do it.
do it. Right.
Let me, right, and my cadre of folks handle that at that point. Let us deal with it. Let us get that taken care of. But
Right.
you fighting them about that search is going to make things worse for you. Like it's
Okay.
not going to make things easier. Okay. And I guess, like we said, before, there's no, again, there's no need to argue with the officers. Right?
Right.
Officers say that, you can just say, no, I disagree, and leave it at that. You don't need to continue the back and forth because, again, think about how many times you get into arguments with regular people. These people are cops. They have just probably less emotional maturity than the majority of the community.
Right.
There's no need to argue with them. They're gonna be set in their ways. I'm right. How dare you talk back to me? I'm the one that's in position of power.
And I
This
have
is
a
my
and I have a
I and I
gun.
have and I
I have a
got the
gun.
thing.
Yeah.
I got it on me.
Right.
You know,
Right.
don't there's no need. Just leave it be. Let us deal with it when we get to court. It will make it so much easier, not only for you but for us.
And I also want to iterate this. It goes back to shutting up. Don't think you can lie your way out of it. Yeah.
Right.
Don't I just be watching people and you like say you've been reading. I've been reading something and I'll be like, I'm reading it 2 months later and I know you're lying. So the cop knew you were lying there and they just let you hang yourself. You're if and they all do it in the quest to think they're going to get home. If it's something that's serious, you're not going home that day anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Mm-hmm.
not. So don't even lie. So we covered qualified immunity. I want to cover that. We covered asking for attorney, knowing your rights, and all that. I'm going to ask questions. You are going to now ask questions. If you have a specific question that we didn't cover, that's why I want to hold up questions. Ask them. One of my moderators will pin it, and we will address it. And as you all get your questions ready, I just want to say first, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to do this. We really appreciate it. Remember, he's my lawyer, not yours. So, do you think qualified immunity should be rewritten?
Absolutely. It needs to be. There needs to be.
Rewritten or done away with?
It needs to. There needs to be. Let's just back all the way up. If you're going to be an officer, I believe you should have to go to law school. I just think that that's how it should be. You need an extensive amount of training, in my opinion, to go in order to go to be an officer. There should be no way that you as can be somebody who is enforcing laws and don't know what the laws are. Like it's just ridiculous. So I don't think that they should have the ability to do that. You just need so much more training. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that I think personally, qualified immunity should just be done away with. Like it's just not something that should exist. Because I'm sorry, like the fact that doctors have to carry malpractice insurance, where if they do make a mistake and somebody loses a limb or whatever, or their life, and then they're basically like, ooh, the insurance has got to pay out, and then they might not be able to practice anymore.
Right.
Same thing goes for me, right? Like, I mean, I work at an office. I'm a public defender, but if I was a solo practitioner, I would need to carry malpractice insurance, and if I make a mistake, I could have to pay out a lot of money to somebody and potentially lose my license. But cops can sit up here and just do whatever willy nilly, and then we'll give you that, a couple weeks paid vacation. When you come back, you'll just be sitting at a desk, and then eventually get back. Or if it's super egregious, you're terminated, and then you're moved to a different department later, and just work in a different jurisdiction. Oh, that's ridiculous.
Right.
Just get rid of it.
Let's go like Samir Rice, the cop that killed him,
Right.
went to two
Right.
different. But also getting back to the part, and I have a question from Stein, but getting back, there is no national database for misbehavior by cops. Is that not a national federal
There
database?
are state. So I think under the last administration,
Hmm.
there was one that was in
There
place.
was one being built. It
There
wasn't
was one being
being
built,
built. Right.
and it was a part of that was the states being required to give all that data to the federal government, and then you'd be able to look at that. And now it's just the states. Like, the states just
Right.
have that data. Like, it's not, and some states don't even bother keeping it anymore because they're not required.
Right. And
So
I want to add to that because you're required to keep up with the habits of criminals. But anyway, um, also understand this. I was going to say the FBI information that we get on crimes when it involves cops is voluntary also. Understand
yes.
it is a
Hmm.
voluntary system. The states voluntarily report that. So that's why I be telling people our criminal stats. Those stats are voluntarily by the state. That doesn't mean they're accurate. That just means that's the ones. A lot of states will try to keep their crime stats down by not reporting a lot of, especially when it involves anything that can be read favorably to black and brown. Just want to say, so when you all are arguing with people about their FBI stats, understand those are voluntary stats. So this is the question I have for you, and this goes off into a little immigration law. All right. I have a genuine question because I'm actually a little worried. My father was not a legal citizen. Is there a way my citizenship, even though I was born here, be taken away? Also, my baby's father is not a legal citizen. Will this present a problem for them? First, I was like, birthright citizenship. I think the Supreme Court said they will, and I don't even see why they took it up. I don't even see why it's taken up. It's settled
Right.
law. It is literally will require an amendment to the Constitution to change it. So I don't even know why they take it up. So my answer to your question would be it's settled law, and that's what I would have told you 14 months ago. That's what I would have told you if you would have asked me this question in October of last year. I'd have said it's settled law, but let's come to the reality of today, which I still think I don't see how the Supreme Court is going to make it, without a constitutional amendment. But hey, I want to hear the other person with an actual law degree instead of the one that faked is.
The Constitution, the Constitution clearly states it's the first section of the 14th Amendment.
Hmm.
As all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction of the United States
All
are citizens. Like, that's in the story. I don't know how they could possibly uh, get around that. I really don't. But
but
you got, but
but
right, I always have to end it with a but, because as I mentioned somewhere in this, all of this shit is made up, and they love to pick and choose the things that are originalist kind of text, like this is what the text actually says, and this other stuff, and we can kind of push that to the side. Well-regulated militia
right.
being the big one that I love pointing out.
Right. But
So, yeah,
like the comma doesn't exist.
right.
Right.
So yeah, I to that person, I would say right now, you're a citizen. And that's
Right.
not going nowhere.
And your children
It's not going anywhere.
and
Right.
your children are citizens.
and
And
your
I
children are
and I
citizens.
and I but I quantify that. Like if you would have asked me that in October of last year, I would have said 100%.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying this to worry anybody, but we are also watching the fact that the Constitution of the United States, we have learned in the last few months, last 9 months or so, is a suggestion at best sometimes, right? Because after you, and I think that's one of the realest things I realized about as a revolutionary in a society. At any time we could have won this revolution if we could have got somebody in that interprets the Constitution the way that we need them to interpret it. Because we're watching the Supreme Court come up with rulings and a 6-3 majority that I just be looking at and be like, how did you get here? You know? So there is that possibility, but I still don't think with I'm gonna say this with only 75% certainty. I don't think even the traditional Republicans would sit back and allow this to go unchecked. I do
Yeah,
not maggots. I didn't say maggots. I'm saying traditional Republicans. I don't because this would still require a constitutional committee to overturn um, a constitutional amendment. Like you say, you're just going to do away with the 14th section of the 14th Amendment. And if it do, I'm gonna say this: if it does, then we're so far past anything we know about constitutional law that we might as well say we have a new normal. So,
right. No, you're right. And Sandra, Sandra, to that answer, I'll say it doesn't matter what he says. Doesn't matter what the that orange dude says up there in his cacophony of sycophants. Like none of that matters. The fact of the matter is that it's been settled at least at this point, and by interpretation and the literal wording of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, I, legally speaking, and again have to say legally speaking, with what we know or should know, um, it should still be that way. Um, there's no, they can't, Trump can't just come in and just say, he's not Michael Scott. Like, he can't just come in and be like, I declare bankruptcy, I declare birthright citizenship ended. It don't work like that. Like, this is the Constitution. Like,
but
if that were the case, somebody could just come in, next week and say, or, let's say this election does go forward in 2028 and we get a new president, right? Let's say we get a Democratic president and that Democratic president just says, I declare no one has guns.
right, but I don't I don't understand. It's like it's the independent. We live at a place that is so foreign from the extreme right and extreme left that I'm like it's like whiplash. It's like
Yeah,
as soon as I address something the far right has done, I'm looking over here and I'm like, you motherfuckers aren't right either. So stop it. Like stop it. And that's where we are right now. We are
right.
actually watching um it's like everything is an extreme. And there
It
is
is.
no and I'm not talking about I don't compromise on human rights. There is no human rights compromise. But I look
Right.
at policies that like birthright citizens. There's no reason we should be even talking about birthright citizens. You know,
No.
it's like, are we back in Dred Scott or the Scope Reese monkey trial or something? Where are we?
Oh my goodness. I
And it
mean,
seems
definitely
like
feels that way.
it feels that way. We are in politics and in medicine. I'm watching the overturning of states trying to set aside the hepatitis B for children, right? That is proven science, right?
Right.
And we're
Right.
watching proven policies that you wake up tomorrow and they are and that's what I say I can't go out here and even give people 100% certainty that they need
Yeah.
because even if the policy doesn't change it's the idea that putting it out there when you're the president of the United States. I think this is people don't realize it's not even that you have to change something. You just have to show your support to people who want to change it and they will take it
Hmm.
from there
Yeah.
because even if birthright citizenship stands, you will still have people out here who feel emboldened to do something illegal and they
Yep.
declare, well, Donald Trump said birthright citizenship isn't a thing. And it's
Right.
going back to saying get home. It's too late after the action has been done to be like, well, that wasn't right. So
Right.
you have to move accordingly. Um,
Yes.
that's the anchor baby that they're trying to. Let me tell you, this is the thing I don't. This is another reason I say, sorry, when your question is, then by that standard, then Barron Trump is an anchor child.
But she literally just commented
Oh,
right after
she
that. It's
did.
like, yep, they got yeah, literally right after it
Yeah,
just said that. Yeah, affects them too.
yeah.
No, it is so I'm sure I'm as a matter of fact I know you said it and I say it all the time just in my job. But man, racism is expensive. It is expensive
And I don't know how poor white people just continue to pay.
and continue to pay.
They will vote
Like,
against
bro,
your
like
own
y'all want to keep
best interest.
look. I don't want to, like I make me and my wife make real make good money like we still deal with racism obviously but it's like you were shooting yourselves in the foot like we I don't mind paying the additional taxes so that people can have food and stuff right and then you out here I can't have them having food well then y'all don't get food I'm still getting
Right.
food my black ass is still able to
Mm,
go get food for me and mine and my
right.
people. I'm still able to give money to you so that you can go get people food,
And
right?
I
But
like to thank you for that. I like to thank you for that.
you
I'm telling you,
but it's like these people over here, like, no, I don't want anybody to have anything, and then they can't get nothing. It's like, hey, man, I'm sorry, you're not impacting me. Like, I'm the
right.
kind of person you would want to impact, and it's not. So,
And
what are
I
you
tell people
doing?
when I'm out here and I see because there's an elevation of older white people at these protests now because it's affecting their 401k, it's affecting their
Right.
social security. They haven't
Mm-hmm.
changed. I tell people all the time, they haven't changed their position.
Ah,
They just realize that I need you to fight for this for me. They're not fighting
yep.
for immigrants. They're not fighting for us. They're just laughing in our face, and I remember that. But I also tell people this because my grandmother lived through Jim Crow. I was born in '67. Jim Crow is credited with ending in '68, and it didn't end; it just transformed. And I tell
Right.
people all the time, when you look at Faces at the Bottom of the Well, and you look at these books about our history and what we're doing, and I tell people all the time, I say, if you really want to be serious, we might not thrive for a little while, but we will survive.
Absolutely.
We will survive because we've been here. They talk about the Great Depression. The impact of the Great Depression on black households was more severe than it was on white households. And guess what?
Mm-hmm.
We still survive.
You still here?
Yeah, we still here. Even,
Still here?
listen, I was digging up grandma's yard one day because I said I know it's some jars of money being like somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I say
Yo, no,
I know that
no,
old woman.
no, man. Why? So my grandfather-in-law
Hmm.
was a Tuskegee Airman. And matter of fact, Red Tails. He was part of that squadron. So it was a little bit based on his life. He got all this stuff. You know, wonderful person.
Hmm.
And he passed a couple years ago, and I remember going over to in-laws house and opening that garage, and it's just everything that you could possibly
Yeah,
think of because he from that time, right? Where he's
right.
just like, I can't get this again. I need all of this and I need to keep it. And he just has everything. And I'm sitting there looking at stuff and I'm like, man, this is just it's such a there's a whole lot of history here. And I'm also looking at it like there's a whole lot of money here too. Like some of this stuff that you kept, man. I'm talking like sealed copies of VHS Disney movies, like original runs of like Aladdin and The Lion King and Snow White. He's got sealed copies.
Yeah.
Why do you have what was the thought process of
What was
keeping sealed copies? But
what was going
again,
on?
where'd it come from? Where'd it come from? It's like when am I going to get this again? Like when am I going to have? Like I don't want to damage it. I don't
Right.
want anything to happen to this. Like, this is something that I can cherish and I can have. It's so fascinating to see that. But like you said, we find a way, and
Right.
yeah, this is happening right now. We'll continue to find a way,
Right.
right? And that's what, and it's that. I will say there are days.
Carry on for a minute. Let me
Yeah,
carry
yeah,
on.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
coming.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'll say there are days when I get up and I'm just like, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm just exhausted. Like, I'm tired, and I see, what's happening, and I just go, I just don't want to do it. I'm tired of doing it. You know, I'd rather. It's not that I'd rather do something else, because I love my job. I'm gonna be very clear. I love my job. I love going in there, but it's just a nonstop. It's like every day you're seeing people who are struggling to make it, and it's black and brown people, right? Like, that's what who are coming in, right? And it's homeless people that are coming in, and it's you're seeing the crimes that they're committing, and it's just like the reason that these are being committed is because they're impoverished, that they ain't have money. It's like, yeah, man, they're stealing shoes because I see the shoes that they got on right now. They're three sizes too small. Their feet are, poking through the front, and the heel is worn all the way down. It's not really offering anything. So I see why they stole the shoes, But it's when you get those small wins, like the small wins that I get when I go into court, and I bust a cop's ass, or I get cases dismissed, or I get a really good outcome, or I'm able to get clients into treatment to
Right.
to get them help. And it's those things. It's like every day. I don't get those every day, but when I do get them, it's like, yep, I'm
Yeah.
I'm back. Like, I'm back in
Yeah.
here to do this. Like, I'm ready to keep
Eh,
going. Let's keep going.
right. It's like you say. It's like um, people don't realize it's come from. It's an experience of especially black and brown people. When we talk about, I'm tired, I'm fed up, and I'll get up and see you tomorrow on the same battle. It's like,
Yep.
yeah, all that's true. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, but
Mm-hmm.
that don't mean I quit. you know,
Right. Right.
right? Because it's not. It's like what you do, what we do here. Just those who have known. It's not just. It's a component. All
Mm-hmm.
of these are components, and once you commit to your component, you're part of the system of rebellion. You can't just. You don't get to. Well, I don't get to get up tomorrow and not be black.
Right.
I
Right.
don't get up tomorrow and not have the experiences I've had. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to walk outside tomorrow and people be like, see anything but me as who I am, right?
Right.
Even if you don't read the file, I still am who I am, and I have to navigate the world accordingly. So because I don't get to quit, that's why I tell the people the difference between accomplices and allies. Allies get to quit. They get to pick it up
Yeah.
and put it down when they get ready. I
Mm-hmm.
remember when I went to Georgia and met Ahmad Auber's mother, and all these mothers out there. These are some, these are women are built of stuff that my grandmother. It's a different stuff. I mean, they're not. Their child is dead, and they're still fighting for your child.
Yeah.
They're fighting for your child, and that's how I feel like when we talk about public defenders, especially when we talk about black lawyers, and I say they don't get paid enough. They are expected to do miracles, and they show up every day and do miracles.
You're right.
and,
Hey, man, and I love it,
and
and I love it when it happens. And I
yeah,
love it when it happens, man.
yeah.
It it
But
it it, it just it's oof.
I'm telling you, I was watching one of your videos, and you were mad or argument. So argument. There was no reason the argument didn't make sense. There was no reason
Mm-hmm.
that the ruling should have went the way it was, and
Right.
it was like, but I am not quitting.
Yeah.
That's just a normal Tuesday. You understand?
Right. Right.
That's just a normal Tuesday. And I think about, you know how I feel about people that are sitting out or all of a sudden because they mad by one date, November 5th, didn't go the way they want to. Our
Right.
grandparents had many days like
Yeah.
November
Many
5th.
November 5th.
You know, understand? My grandmother came of age in Mississippi with a when every governor was openly racist on a segregationist platform. It wasn't just
Yeah.
one or two. It was every one of them bitches, right? With Dixieland Mafia and Strong Thurman filibustering while he got a black kid and daughter. All this is the reality they dealt with. Right?
Yep.
And I just think, what would have happened if they would have said that?
Right.
I think,
Right.
I said, it is such a privilege to be able to sit down and not do anything in the face of injustice.
That right there.
That is
Right there.
a privilege
Nah,
that
I don't
I am
I don't
not
got that kind of
accustomed to.
time.
I don't have
Nah,
that kind
I
of
don't got
privilege.
that. I don't
I
got
don't,
that. I don't got that.
because
I
if
ain't got
you
that.
look at
I
what's
gotta
going,
fight.
right? Because if you look
Mm,
at what's happening in the face, and we talk about, I think about Admiral Hosey, Alvin Hosey. He was Southern Commander, and he resigned before he would take unlawful orders. Black man, black man saying, you know what, my career is not more important because I will be black when I wake up tomorrow.
yep.
These are the things I try to tell people. This is why we do what we do. It's not like I have a choice. It's not like I get to get up in the morning and choose violence. Violence chose me the night before. The night before, he like said, "Hey, get you a couple of hours in, because we'll be right back on it tomorrow." And
Hmm.
that is what you can explain when they say when you tell our stories, we're always victims. I say you don't understand. I want the ancestors to let me victimize you.
Right.
This is not a. This is me trying to tell you that we've seen all this,
Hmm.
and if you're not careful, and that's what the communities, the Muslim communities in Dearborn, Michigan, are figuring out. The Somali community in Minnesota is found. Your proximity to whiteness is not going to save you from white.
Yeah.
It's no ifs,
Is
ands, or buts about
right.
it.
And the day you wake
Good,
up, you are not white.
right? Big up to him because that's the truth. It's the
Yeah.
truth. And I tell people, because people say, oh, we're not a monolith. I said, okay, you don't like Nintendo and they don't like Xbox. That's not a monolith. But in our oppression, we are monolithic. And this is what
Yep.
I say the only people I hear saying that are Rocky Raccoons and white people talking about we're not monolith. At
That's
the
it.
end of the day, I'm not talking about if you like pineapple on your pizza. This is not a pineapple on your pizza conversation. But and that's why the Christopher Williams jokes aside, all the stats we talk about when we talk about black people are more likely to die after interactions with police. Black women
Hmm.
are most likely 3 times, 4 times more likely to die in childbirth than their white counterpart. It's not
Hmm.
because of the shade of your black. It is blackness. No one was
Yes.
breaking this survey down saying, okay, so you're a paper bag brown, so you fall over
Right.
here, or you're
Right.
you're a little lighter, you're Lena Horne brown, so you fall in here. No,
Hmm.
all of it. And I think that's why we have to approach these conversations like know your rights and everything, because in that we have to find our unity. We have to
Yes.
find that factor that, you know, this is a monolithic conversation because there's one set of rules for people that don't look like us, and then there's a set of rules for us. Like we have to go into these situations thinking, how do I get home?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
have, regardless of what, there has to be meeting people, and they be like, well, you just do this and do that, and I said that's so white, that's so you have that opportunity. But
Hmm.
when I'm even when I wasn't doing anything wrong, I was already,
Yes.
I was
It's
already,
always it. As much as it pains me to say, because I'd love to be. I would love to have the ability to just when a cop pulls me over, the fuck did you pull me over for? I'd love to have that ability.
right.
It'd be that K sound would be the last thing that I heard. Like I don't have we don't have
We
that
don't have that ability.
ability. Just don't
Right.
got that ability. So it's like, yes, I would love, like, there are white attorneys who will talk about the things they can say, and they have like these scripts and all these things they can say. And look, big up to them. I love that they're just very much, anti-police. Like I get it, right? Like I
Hmm.
love that stuff. But that stuff only works for them, man. That stuff don't work for people who look like us. It just don't.
Listen,
And I'm saying that
listen.
understanding that I am light, bright, and two shades from being white. Like
Right.
I totally get that.
I'm waiting
But
for you to bust out in song anytime. Sing sing a
like
little
I said,
sing a little dreamy for
nah,
us.
I ain't got none of them vocal. I say that knowing that,
Right.
but also understanding that like doesn't matter because a cop pulled me over. They know that's a black man right there.
Right. they not
I gotta be worried. I
yeah,
gotta be worried.
they not they not they not going to consult anybody. They're not asking what your mama look like. They're not asking what part of Europe your daddy might have
Right.
raped you come from, that raped your great great grandma. None of that. They're not asking
Hmm.
any of that. They're saying
None of
this is
that.
a black man,
None of
and
that.
I'm going to treat him accordingly. Even if
Hmm.
it's subconscious, it's I'm going to treat him accordingly.
Yeah.
And we have to acknowledge that.
Hmm.
And that's what, and I think that's what
Yeah.
even white people don't understand of the things that being a minority in this country is inherent. They don't understand. That's why they can say
Right.
things. And it's even some of my white friends. I'll tell a joke and I realize it's like you want to get it,
No.
but I realize that joke
Right.
is rooted in the microaggressions I have to go to any time I public. It's not just some. It's the
Right.
microaggressions of you would tell somebody something, and they will come back and say something like you just. I didn't just tell you I read that whole book. I have people do that all the time. Like even people that know me, they will make a. It's like no matter how many times you prove yourself in a black man, tomorrow it resets. You got to get
And
up and do it all over again. No matter what, even with your friend, even with your white friend, you have to get up and prove you are him tomorrow all over. No matter what the foreground you lay, you got to get up tomorrow
all over.
and I got to prove to you that my IQ is above 150 all over again. Because you will
Or just
say
gotta prove
something.
that just gotta
Yeah,
prove that I belong.
right. It's
You gotta
like,
prove that I belong. Hey, the court that I so without really going into like I started
yeah.
in one branch, I moved to another branch, right? Moved to a different courthouse. I've been in this
Mhm.
courthouse before. Walking in the courthouse, as an attorney with the suit and tie on,
Right.
I'm co-chairing a trial with another man, a Hispanic man as well. I walk in behind him, bailiff. Oh, I'm sorry, you need to stay outside.
All right.
I'm sorry, who needs to stay
Listen,
outside?
listen,
Would you like to see my bar card? Because I am an attorney. Did you think I was the client just because?
man.
Is this what you
Yeah,
thought? Okay,
that's what it
cool.
is.
All right,
You
all right.
don't know how many times I'll be accompanied Diane trial. And they will. She'll get a little ahead of me and they be like, oh, no, you can't go up there. That's only for the attorney and the law firms. And I was you think this you think this suit just miraculously appeared on me? You think this briefcase means I'm a and that's the assumption. The assumption is if you don't fit the description, you fit the description. And I don't, and
Right.
I say that's the people talking about. "Oh," I say the reason I handle my anger and rage so well is because I've lived with it all my life. If I hadn't lived with it all my people think kitchen hell on my lives when they say something. So you understand how much worse it would be if I hadn't lived with it all my
Yep.
yeah. The Hulk ain't got nothing on me. See,
Right.
because we and it's because we choose. When people say something like, "Oh, you playing," oh, I'll be 30. No, I was joking.
You're
I
right.
was
You're
joking
right.
because I'll be in court after I done stole everything in your yeah, all of that. Keep you out here in the cold, just like that. That's I'm gonna show you.
Yep.
But that's what they don't realize. And even the best of our allies, sometimes, accomplices, don't realize they just have a better sense to just be quiet and learn instead of saying
Right.
something like, "Are you sure?" You know how many
Uh,
times? Yeah,
I was gonna say look like my little
yeah. Let's see.
what do you call them, crumb snatchers? Yeah, look like mine just
Yeah.
walked back in the house.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, it's still early where you at. I wish mine would just walk. Yeah. Gonna turn look, we're gonna turn everything in here upside down. Yeah, I'm gonna need you to get on the plane and fly out here. I told you, you got to get your bar. You got to pass the bar in Kansas.
Oh no, I can just apply to do things.
You
Like I'll
need
just
to.
do it that
These are
way.
the. You
Yeah,
need to.
I'll just do
Every
that.
state I visit on a regular basis, you need to go ahead and apply right because it's getting worse, not better. It's getting worse.
Sadly. Yeah.
But I appreciate it. I took you away from the family long enough. I appreciate this. Man, this is great. I hope people got something from it. But if you missed it, it's on YouTube. The whole conversation is up on YouTube also. If you want, and we're gonna do more of these. We're gonna.
Yes.
I want to get to the point where even like legal issues that are unfolding, court decisions. I want to be able to talk to because it's one thing to tell them, but it's another thing when you have a court, you can have a interaction with somebody else
Right.
without it. It's like it's
Right.
like we can bounce the ideas off each other. But more importantly, we can talk about how we as black and brown people want to navigate. I think
Yes.
that is important. Not just that it has, is that now okay? What do we do now?
Yeah.
We have
No, absolutely. I love that. I love that. Well, we talk, man.
yeah.
We're not gonna be done talking.
No, we're not. And I appreciate it. And you all, I appreciate y'all for joining us on this weekend edition of Conversation with my attorney, even though he says not yours. That's my attorney, not yours. Because y'all got the whole family got everybody in the family is an attorney. And they on pinky, they got everybody but me. I'm the last person. It's like we'll get around to you. We know you're gonna be fighting anyway while we get everybody else taken. It's like, oh my. But thank you. If you all would like to assist, we will be in St. Louis, December the 13th through the 16th, meeting those up in homeless, providing tents, providing services, talking to them and finding out what else they need. What we're gonna do bills. We got a lot of things planned. I just the last time I was in St. Louis and I was leaving out, I saw this whole city of tents that I missed. I said, yeah, I gotta come here. So we will be back there if you all want to help. Chef is around somewhere. Uh, somebody will let me know. We'll be back Monday, Pacific Standard Time, Eastern Time, and conversation. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you,
Y'all,
T.
y'all have a
All right. Yeah, have a go.